Sutra. At that time, the entire great assembly of bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, upasikas, gods, dragons, yakshas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kinnaras, mahoragas, beings human and non-human, as well as the minor kings, the real turning sage kings, all attained what they had never had before. They rejoiced and joined their palms, and with one heart gazed upon the Buddha. Commentary. This is the fifth, the pattern of the rejoicing of the assembly. Everyone rejoiced, everyone was happy. At that time, right then. What time was that? It was just as the six kinds of earthquakes occurred. The entire great assembly, those present in the Dharma flower assembly, all the great bhikshus, the bhikshunis. The word bhikshu has three meanings: mendicant, frightener of Mara, and destroyer of evil. A bhikshuni is a woman who has left home. The same three meanings apply. There was once a trunk cultivator who cultivated and cultivated until he became enlightened. When he got enlightened, he went to find a greatly virtuous, lofty member of the Sangha to give him certification. The lofty Sangha member asked him, "What have you obtained?" "I have obtained nothing," he replied. This is like today when the passage from the Vajra Sutra came up, in which the Buddha questions Subhuti, "Has the third command obtained Anuttara Samyak Sambuddhi?" The enlightened bhikshu said he had not obtained anything, and so the Sangha member asked him, "What enlightenment have you come to?" He said, "I know that a bhikshuni is a woman." The greatly virtuous one said, "Oh, I grant that you are enlightened. You have truly become enlightened." Because the greatly virtuous Sangha member had gained the use of the five eyes, the Buddha eye, the heavenly eye, the wisdom eye, the Dharma eye, and the flesh eye, he knew that the cultivator had become enlightened and was not lying, and so he certified his enlightenment. If any one of us were to say the same thing, would it necessarily mean that we had become enlightened? Imitating others is not enlightenment. Imitating the words of others is not enlightenment. You must have your own individual viewpoint, so merely imitate the words of others is not an indication of enlightenment. The sentence which the cultivator spoke had never been spoken by anyone. He said, "Now I know for sure that the bhikshuni is something a woman can be." And so his enlightenment was certified. If you were to say the same thing, it would not mean that you were enlightened, and no one would certify you. Why? Because you'd just be imitating someone else, and it would not be something you enlightened to one your own. Upasakas, upasikas. Upasakas are male lay pupil. Upasikas are female lay pupil. There are two ways of explaining these terms. Translated from Sanskrit, upasaka means a man who draws near to serve, and upasika means a woman who draws near to serve. That's the first method of explanation. Sometimes they live in the temples, in which case they are not called men or women who draw near to serve, but rather men or women who draw near to live, which is the second method of explanation. Bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, and upasikas comprise the fourfold assembly of disciples. Gods are those who live in the heavens, those who dwell in the six Visarium heavens and the other heavens. Dragons are big worms. What do the big worms eat? They eat little worms. Since they eat little worms, the great golden-winged birds avenge the little worms and kept the score even by eating the dragons, the big worms. Yakshas. Yaksha is a Sanskrit word. It means speedy. They're extremely fast and quick. It also means bold and sturdy. These greatly powerful ghosts and spirits are extremely brave, healthy, and strong. The great Yaksha ghosts and spirits can tip the mountains over into the sea. With one hand, they can throw a mountain several hundred miles. They can move the mountains. We now have hydraulic jacks, but none of them can move mountains. The Yaksha ghosts are so brave and strong they can throw them several hundred li with one hand, and with the other they can catch them and bring them back. Would you say they were strong or not? Gandharvas are the music-making spirits. Asuras, everyone knows them as the white-faced ones or the ugly ones. They have the blessings of the gods, but not the authority of the gods. They have no influence in the heavens. The male asuras look like one of the 8 kinds of ugly monsters. They are hideous. Nothing could be uglier. The female asuras are very beautiful, to say nothing of pupil. When even the Jet Emperor sees them, his heart moves with thoughts of desire. That's why he asked the Asura king for his daughter's hand in marriage and took an Asura girl as his wife. Garudas are the big birds, the great golden-winged pong birds. You've all heard about him many times, and perhaps some of you have even seen him. Some have only heard of him. Those who have seen him, what's he like? The little Shramanura knows the great golden-winged pong bird. Kinnaras are also music spirits in the court of the Jet Emperor. They have a single horn on their heads, and so people doubt whether they are spirits or not, and they are called doubtful spirits. They have their doubts about whether or not they are spirits, but ultimately, are they spirits? There's no way to decide it once and for all. However, they do make music for the Jet Emperor. They play guitars and things like that, but they are not like people because they have a horn on their head, the doubtful spirits. Mahoragas are great ball snakes. They're extremely big. Exactly how big they are a bit smaller than dragons. If you know how big dragons are, you will know how big Mahoragas are. But then there are big dragons and small dragons. There are also big Mahoragas and small ones. Beings human are pure, and non-human are those ghosts, spirits, and the rest of the eightfold division. As well as the minor kings, the wheel-turning sage kings, had Shakyamuni Buddha left home 1 day later than he did, he would have become a gold wheel-turning king. Gold wheel-turning kings have a great abundance of blessings because they beget 1,000 sons and have 7 treasures which are like the as-you-will pearl. Whenever they need money for their travel expenses, they just scrape off a patch of earth and take out as much gold or silver as they needed. It's all as you will according to their wish. They have a chariot in which, in a flash, they can travel around all the 4 continents, a distance greater even than from here to the moon. It takes them no time at all. There are 4 kinds of wheel-turning sage kings. The gold wheel-turning king watches over one set of 4 continents. Jambudvipa in the south, Purvavideha in the east, Akara Godanya in the west, and Anuttarakuru in the north. He rules them all. The silver wheel-turning king watches over 3 continents. He does not rule over Uttarakuru, but does rule over the remaining 3. The bronze wheel-turning king watches over Jambudvipa and Purvavideha. The iron wheel-turning king only watches over Jambudvipa. Someone may ask, during the time of Shakyamuni Buddha, were such wheel-turning kings ruling? That's a good question. There were none in our world at that time. Then where did they come from? They came from worlds in other directions. You shouldn't take such a narrow viewpoint. and see only a space as big as your own house. You have neighbors, don't you? And there are the villages and the big cities. Don't be like a country person on his first trip to the city. Although there were no wheel-turning sage kings ruling in the Saha world at the time of Shakyamuni Buddha, they did come from other worlds. What are the worlds? It would take a long time to investigate that question, and right now I don't have the time. The entire Great Assembly refers to all those assembled whom we just discussed. Ultimately, how many were present? Even the Buddha didn't know. How could I tell you? All attained what they had never had before. They rejoiced and joined their palms. Everyone was joyful, just as now. Those who understand me are laughing. Those who don't understand what I'm saying think, what are they laughing at? What's going on? In their hearts, they want to laugh too, but they're afraid that they will laugh in the wrong place, and so they don't dare. Wait until the translation. Then they laugh. With one heart gazed at the Buddha. This is a portion of rejoicing of the assembly. They all stared unblinkingly at the Buddha. Without turning their gaze away, they looked up on him. They looked up at him. Sutra. Then the Buddha emitted from between his brows a white hair mark light which illuminated 18,000 worlds to the east, omitting none of them. Commentary. Then, when was that? The word then has the same meaning as at that time, which was the phrase used for the 6 quakings of the earth. It was not the same time, however. Then what time was it? It was at the time when the Great Assembly rejoiced and with one heart gazed upon the Buddha. It was at this time that the Buddha saw that everyone in the Great Dharma Assembly was rejoicing, and so he too rejoiced. He rejoiced and emitted light, and so this is the 6th portent of emitting light. The 6 portents which have just been discussed took place in this world. There are also 6 portents which occurred in other worlds which will be discussed. The Buddha emitted from between his brows, from the space in between his 2 eyebrows, a white hair mark light. If you look at the Buddha images, you will see a gem between the Buddha's brows, which represents the white hair mark light. The Buddha images are made of clay or wood, and there is no way to show the Buddha's white hair mark except to represent it with a jewel. The white hair mark can extend very far or remain very near. It is somewhat like a glass tube, illuminating 18,000 worlds to the east. The east is associated with the wood, and the wood will with birth. The Buddha illuminated 18,000 worlds to the east. 18,000 worlds are not too many. It's still a calculable number. All of the 18,000 worlds received the universal illumination of the Buddha's light, omitting none of them. Not one of 18,000 worlds failed to receive the light. This has been a discussion of the 6th portent of emitting light. Sutra. Reaching below to the Avashi house and above to the Akanishta heaven. From this world were seen all the living beings in the 6 destinies in those lands. Commentary. This begins a new section on the 6 portents in other worlds. When Shakyamuni Buddha emitted light, not only were portents seen in this world, but portents in other worlds also were seen reaching below to the Avashi house. Avashi is a Sanskrit word. It means unspaced. In the unspaced house, there is no space in the sense that if one person is in that house, it is full. And if many people are in that house, it is also full. There is also no break in the time spent in this house. Both time and space are uninterrupted. It is not known how long one who has fallen into this house must stay there. So it is called unspaced. And above, so the Akanistha heaven. Akanistha is also Sanskrit and means the ultimate form heaven. In the realm of form, it is the highest heaven. From this world, from the Saha world, looking eastward through 18,000 worlds, were seen all the living beings in the 6 destinies in those lands, the gods, people, asuras, hell beings, hungry ghosts, and animals. These are the living beings of the 6 paths. Everyone could see them and could see very clearly and distinctly what retributions were being undergone by the beings in each particular path. The living beings in the 6 destinies are those turning on the wheel of the 6 paths of rebirth. The turning wheel will be familiar to those who have listened to Sutra lectures, but those who have not will not understand this concept, so I shall explain it again. What is meant by the living beings in the 6 destinies? The 6 destinies are the gods, asuras, people. These are known as the 3 wholesome paths. The hells, hungry ghosts, animals. These are known as the 3 evil paths. Asuras are sometimes classed in the 3 wholesome paths and sometimes in the 4 evil destinies, i.e. the asuras, hell beings, hungry ghosts, and animals. The gods are the beings who live in the heavens. How do they become gods? Through the cultivation of the 5 precepts and the 10 good acts. The 5 precepts are the basic precepts which must be held by Buddhist disciples. They are no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, and no taking intoxicants. One who maintains the precepts against killing for a long time will receive the reward of longevity. Why do some people live for so long and others for such a short period of time? Those who live long do so because they have received the retribution of a long life as a result of having maintained the precept against killing. Those who have a short life in the past enjoyed killing and have received the retribution of a short lifespan. Such are the retributions involved with the precept against killing. Why should one maintain the precept against stealing? Stealing robs people of their valuables and their happiness as well. Stealing means that you secretly take other people's things without their knowing. What kind of retribution does one receive for this? In the future, you will not be able to keep your wealth for very long. You may have a lot of money and property, but it will soon be stolen away from you. You undergo this retribution because in previous lives you stole and robbed from others. You failed to keep the precept, and so in your present life you will be robbed of all your own wealth. If it lasts thus because you kept the precept, those who remain wealthy and honored do so because they kept the precept. Those who do not keep the precept will not be wealthy and honored for long. Sexual misconduct, lying, and taking intoxicants work in the same words as the 2 above. For example, if you don't keep the precept against sexual misconduct and violate others' wives, in the future others will violate your wife. That's the retribution. Lying was the same way. If you don't deceive others, you will not be deceived by others. You say, in this life I have not deceived anyone. I have so many people deceived me. Didn't I just explain it? Retribution is not a matter of simply a single lifetime. It involves the past, present, and future. You may not have deceived anyone in this life, but do you know how many people you deceived in your last life? You don't know. You don't know, and so when others deceive you, it's because you deserve it. As to taking intoxicants, drinking wine is not a major fault to speak of. The problem is that when you drink, you tend to drink too much. It turns you upside down, so you do crazy things. In Buddhism, drinking or taking any intoxicating substance is prohibited. Wine muddles the nature. When you've been drinking and you try to talk, your tongue is so big you can't speak clearly. For that reason, Buddhism discourages the taking of intoxicants. There are many principles involved in explaining the 5 precepts. The most important thing is that not only do we not kill with our hands, but we do not have thoughts of killing either. Then we are truly keeping the precept of not killing. Stealing works the same way. Not only do we not steal with our hands, we do not have thoughts of stealing in our hearts. It doesn't matter whether the item is larger or small. If no one has given you permission and you make use of other people's things, you have broken the precept against stealing. As a small example, say someone buys a bottle of wine and you see it and think, what is mine and what's mine is mine, and you drink a glass. That's a violation of the precept against stealing. So you have broken the precept against stealing and the precept against consuming intoxicants. Now you may think, I don't drink, so I couldn't break that precept. So you don't drink wine? Well, you drink milk, don't you? What about that carton of milk in the refrigerator that, paying no attention to the consequences, you opened and drank? Then when someone asks you, who bought the milk? All you can say is, I don't know, I just drank it. Now, wouldn't you say that was acting unreasonably? Although milk is not a big deal, if you drank it without the owner's permission, you're guilty of stealing. The same applies to other foods, things in general. On the other hand, if someone steals from you, you should take a good look at yourself. Why are they stealing my food? I must be that in former lives I stole food, and so in this life it has come back on me. Well, forget it. That's what the person who is stolen from should think. The person who stole it, however, can't say, I'm stealing your food now and you can go ahead and steal it back from me next life. How do you know you will have any food to be stolen in your next life? For all you know, you may not have anything at all in your next life, and then how could someone steal from you? So don't harbor thoughts of stealing. If you didn't buy it, you can't use it as you please. If you get the owner's permission, it's okay. Otherwise, you can't go around sneaking other people's things. If you talk about the fine points, to take even a blade of glass, a splinter of wood, a needle, or a piece of thread without asking is considered stealing. Sexual misconduct, lying, and taking intoxicants work the same way. Having explained one precept, you should be able to understand the rest of them. To say too much would waste a lot of time.